Hello and welcome to the Steel Sports Show, the youth sports show. Glad to have our listeners, our viewers with us for another episode. I'm Nathan Klinkenbeard, co-host. Always proud to be joined by my fellow co-host, Martin Brown. Martin, how you doing?
Good, Nathan. How's it going?
Going very well. I know you're in a different location with me today. Our viewers will see a different background, but
Yeah.
So I know you've been over on the West Coast, California,
I have.
Colorado, for a couple big steel sports events. Tell me what's been going on.
Yes, most people see now, instead of me looking up to the camera in my standing position, I'm sat here. I'm out in California, beautiful, sunny Southern California. Came here from Colorado, did a couple of events for Steel Sports. Started with our Lasorda Legacy Academy Colorado opening on Friday night. We had a grand opening. Bunch of kids coming through as we set up that facility in Johnstown, Colorado. So if people in that area, feel free, please check us out. Get over to the academy. It was a really great night. The team out there has done a fantastic job. And then came over to LA to partake in the Skechers peer-to-peer walk. Really great event for kids with special needs. They raised over $3 million, 12,000 walkers as part of the walk from the pier at Manhattan Beach to the pier in Hermosa Beach. Spectacular event. Skechers did a really great job. They obviously also are a partner of ours on our Kids First camps. And we had an activation on the beach. Senior VP of the Lasorda Way, Steve Jones, was out on the beach, and we're going to talk a little bit about Steve later. But did a great job. Had over 150 kids coming through and working with us on the beach, and it was a fantastic event, really great event. And I'm going to be heading back east tomorrow. So, how about you? How's the last couple of weeks been?
Oh, it's been fantastic. I feel like this. We talked about the fall, and with sports going on, you have this convergence of sports, right? I mean, you have football, you have the World Series about to start. Basketball, the NBA season's about to get underway. This is one of my favorite times of year. You have this convergence of just the major sports and big things happening. And the weather's been beautiful lately, so it's been nice to get outside and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's been excellent, and obviously we come back, and we had the international break, and we spent a little bit of talking about Mauricio Pochettino as the new men's national coach. Obviously, had his first couple of games in charge. I think a bit of a mixed result. Win against Panama, a loss against Mexico. I think you started to see how he wants to play. He kind of put Musa out on the right a little bit as a change. I think that worked against Panama, but I think he's maybe got a little bit of awakening about the squad depth, with a lot of the stars kind of going back to Europe for the Mexico game. He had, that the roster is not deep, and I think that's going to be something he's going to have to get a handle on if he wants some of these players to be playing week in and week out, and if they're not, he's not going to use them. I think there is a big drop off. So I think that was interesting, but I think they'll be getting used to his system. He started to see that a little bit in terms of his, what he wanted to do. And I think that over time, I think he can get that right and really improve the team. I think there were certain signs, particularly in the first game as well. So definitely interesting. And I think hopefully he's going to get enough games. I think that's going to be interesting, without there being, having the US already having qualified because they're hosting the World Cup in 26. The lack of competitive games may be an issue, but we'll see. But good start, mixed bag. But I think when he's got a full squad, full roster, I think he can do something with that squad. So it'll be good.
Flashes of brilliance. It was like typical US, right? It was like a 10-15 minute stretch. You're like, oh, this looks really good, and then they went through some stretches where it was just like, oh, same old with the U.S. squad. Some pain point.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the depth of the squad for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, but following the international break, we got back to some of the domestic leagues. Premier League came back. I think have to say after Saturday's game that you have to be a Bournemouth fan. I think it has to be your chosen team now. 2-0 win against Arsenal. Which I was very happy about. As everybody knows, I'm a big Liverpool fan. Beating Chelsea on Sunday, staying top of the table. But I think good team for you, I think, Bournemouth. So hopefully, I hope to see some Bournemouth stuff on those shelves behind you. In the next few weeks as you get some Bournemouth merch.
I'm gonna have to scour Amazon, or yeah, I'm gonna have to look for some good stuff to put up behind me.
Yeah,
Maybe a flag. Might have to maybe a Tyler Adams jersey or shirt or something to represent the U.S. Right? So.
Represent the US, absolutely. Maybe we'll give our friends at soccer.com a call and see if we can get you something from a Tyler Adams perspective. Yeah, I think so. So and then the other one, I don't know if you saw last night, a little bit crazy in the MLS West. Looking for top spot. That top spot changed hands 3 times, and I watched a video earlier today with the goals from both the LA Galaxy game and the LAFC game, and seeing the fans' reaction was actually really cool because really showed that they bought in. They were watching the game on their phone, the other game on their phones, and seeing that Houston take the lead. It was awesome that you get that reaction and the fans really buying into it. So I think that'll be good. Obviously, Messi with a hat trick as well for Inter Miami, another one. So it's set up quite nicely for the MLS playoffs, which we'll probably touch on a little bit more in a couple of weeks on episode 5. So excellent weekend and a couple of weeks of soccer. But the big news, obviously, last night we filled the World Series as we move into baseball. And I know we've got a very special guest that's going to join us today to talk a little bit more baseball. But, definitely got a very good World Series, I think. And the one that I'm going to certainly ask our guest if that's what Major League Baseball were probably hoping for, I would have thought, from a ratings perspective. But I know you probably would have saw the games last night. What do you think?
Yeah, just really excited for this World Series. When you talk about the star power that's going to be on display, for me, I don't really want to wait 4 more days. I don't, to get this thing started on Friday. Let's get it going. Let's get it going tonight. But it should be a lot of fun, and to think that those two teams, those storied franchises, haven't met in a World Series since 1977. It's crazy.
I saw that and I was surprised, given the amount that they've been dominating over the last, 40 years between them. It's, particularly Dodgers more recently and the Yankees a little bit a few years ago. But yeah, it's going to be a good one.
And I mean, in that World Series, you had Reggie Jackson, who, he hit 3 home runs in 1 game to clinch the World Series for the Yankees. And you have that type of star power in this World Series. And there could be another performance like that from an Ohtani, a Judge, or, there's other stars too. Juan Soto, Mookie Betts. They have a lot of star power in this World Series. So it's going to be definitely exciting to watch. But our special guest, I mean, he'll be able to talk plenty about the World Series, about baseball in general as well. And
I'm so happy we got him on today, particularly after the series ending with Dodgers and Mets last night. We can speak to both franchises. And so yeah, it was perfect timing, and I was so excited to have him on today.
Definitely. So no stranger to playoff baseball, and a former major league player, manager, won an NL pennant with the Mets in 2000. Won a Japan World Series as well, and now a senior advisor with the Los Angeles Angels. So my pleasure to welcome Bobby Valentine to the Steel Sports Show. How's it going, Bobby?
Good, guys. Am I on? Do I need to push my settings open or something? Is everything kosher?
You are good, Bobby. We have you on. We can hear you loud and clear, and it's just a pleasure to have you on. And thanks for joining us on episode 4 of the Steel Sports Show. It's great to have you on and talk some baseball.
Baseball is my life, so I'd love to talk about it. It was great listening to the soccer guys. Yeah, and what the heck? We have a coast-to-coast World Series, with the New York team and the LA team, it's going to happen the same time as the U.S. Elections, where you have a guy running from New York and a gal running from California. Oh, holy cow. How are the stars being aligned? And here we are talking about the World Series. And, we mentioned that 77 World Series, but let's not forget the 1981 World Series was the first World Series Tommy Lasorda won as a Dodger manager. And that's the last time these two teams played. And that's been a long time waiting for the fabulous $300 million franchises to go head to head against each other. So I'm excited, and I'm sure you guys are too.
Yeah. So I mean, the first question, I mean, is this, when you just look at it from a pure baseball perspective, let's throw out the teams and the payrolls, but just from a pure baseball matchup, is this the one fans should have wanted when the postseason started?
Yeah, this is the one with the stars. When you talk about the first three hitters for each team, you just shake your head and you say, holy cow, each one of them, if Freddie Freeman plays for the Dodgers, but Mookie Betts and Ohtani, and then, of course, you have Judge and Soto, who are just as good as anyone who's ever played the game offensively. So you're going to see home runs. You're going to see lead changes. You're going to see the Dodgers manipulating a starting staff, which might have some holes, but now with Yamamoto being fully rested and being able to pitch 2, if not 3 games in this series, another $300 million signing for the Dodgers, you're going to just shake your head and say, wow, these guys are really special.
Yeah, and aside from the stars, like the ones you mentioned, what else are you looking forward to with this matchup?
Well, I think the fans are going to be aggressive. I think you're going to see the fans come into play somewhere in the 7, if it goes 7 games, because they both are passionate fans, and the Dodgers have the roots in New York, of course, coming from Brooklyn in mid 50s, and now being in LA. So there's been a lot of family feuds over the years in New York about the Dodgers leaving, and now the Dodgers coming back for a World Series. And you're going to see bullpen use that you've probably never seen before in a World Series. You're going to see guys coming out of the bullpen starting in the 4th inning in a few of these games, and having the bullpen really being responsible for who wins and who loses. So it used to be the starting pitcher and the star players, and now I think it's going to be the bullpens that are going to really carry the torch.
And Bobby, and obviously you mentioned bullpens and versus the starting pitching. Is there any concern from you who have been in the game a long time? Is there any concern within baseball of how the game has shifted away from like starting pitching towards more of a bullpen, aggressive pitching philosophy? Do you see any concern with that? Do you see that continuing? Do you think it's just going to get bigger and that there's going to be more emphasis on bullpens versus starting pitching?
Well, it all depends on who wins the power struggle, the players' union or the owners. The owners want the bullpen to be the stars because you don't have to pay bullpen pitchers. You're paying, as I said, Yamamoto's making $300 million, and Cole on the other side of the coin out of New York is making the same kind of money over multiple years. And owners really don't want that. They want a guy that they sign for 2 years and discard him if they have to, and not have to pay him $30 million a year to pitch 6 innings, which they used to be asked to pitch. Now they're being asked to pitch 5. So, if you do the math, the amount of money they're being paid per inning is astronomical. They're getting into like Messi numbers, they're getting paid like soccer players all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's just going to continue to go up. I mean, the salaries, but I mean, you bring up a good point, and just from your vantage point, obviously being a former manager in the front office now, are managers in front offices too caught up? Do you feel like maybe in analytics when it comes to managing a pitching staff? And like, where does the gut feeling come into play?
The gut, as Tommy Lasorda used to say, as he taught me, and as I have said, carrying his torch, your gut is just what you put in to your gut and how you regurgitate it, and information and the analytics are all part of the things that a manager has to digest. He has to digest the individual pitcher or hitter. He has to digest the medical report. He has to digest the weather conditions. He's got to digest the family situations that the players have. So it's not just a numbers game that the manager is dealing with. It's all encompassing, and the numbers are the things that allow a manager to get second guessed. But the numbers aren't the thing that should dictate the first guess by the manager. It should be a holistic approach to how to win and manage.
Bobby, I want to take you back to a game in 1999, a game that I was actually at. I was a lot younger then. But it was the 163rd game.
Me too.
When you when you went to Cincinnati and won that game to make the playoffs. But Al Leiter talks about that game, and he wound up throwing 135 pitches. He pitched the full 9 innings, complete game shutout. Was just dominant. But he talks about how the trust that you had in him to carry through, to complete the game, and really. If he was pitching in that same game today, he wouldn't have had that chance to complete it. So take us back to that game and just, your thoughts going into it, and, maybe why you kept Al in and, kept them going.
Well, getting to the 163rd game was quite the experience. We tied with Cincinnati at the end of the year with 96 wins. And, we lost the coin toss for a 1-game playoff. So we had to play the game where we had to win the last 3 games of the season. Cincinnati had to lose the last 3 games of the season for us to tie in. And believe it or not, on a wild pitch in the 9th inning, we won that 3rd game, got on a plane because we lost the coin flip, went to Cincinnati. Al Leiter was scheduled to pitch the first game of the playoffs for us, and that was basically the first game of the playoffs, a 1-game wild card entry game. Then we only had 1 wild card. And so Al was the guy. He was pitching well. The idea of the pitch count where they say 3 times through the order, you have to watch out. Well, with some pitchers, when they're dominating hitters with their pitches, the 3rd time and the 4th time through doesn't really give a hitter an advantage. Statistics will show you that it does with large numbers, but on an individual basis, that isn't always the case. Sometimes when a pitcher's on, the hitters just can't figure him out. And so to take him out just because of a number is I think, silly and not the way to compete properly, but it is the way to keep yourself from being second guessed by the media.
So obviously, Bobby, as we mentioned, tons of stars in this matchup, right, for the World Series. You got Judge, you got Betts as Nathan Soto, and obviously Ohtani, which is going to be the biggest one. Now, you've obviously got some experience. You've done some work with the Angels before Ohtani came across. I mean, I remember me and you sat at an Angels game chatting about Ohtani and his, the appeal he had, and everywhere you looked, Ohtani shirts. So, having with your like kind of intimate knowledge of him and what he does and the work he puts in, what do you think? What are the kind of the top couple of things, particularly, for our younger baseball audience, our youth baseball players? What is it that makes him special? What does he do that is something that you could, give advice on for our younger players, to if they wanted to aspire to kind of be like Ohtani,
Well, I think it's very difficult to be like Ohtani. Ohtani, in my opinion, is a genius. He's different than even the other great players that are in this series. Next year at this time, you might see Ohtani pitching game 1 of the World Series and batting and being the MVP with his bat. He is an individual who can eliminate distractions better than anybody I've ever seen. He's a guy who allows routine to dictate his life, and he never strays from his routine. It's very difficult to be that person, but I like to say, there's a lot of concert pianists out there who can be great at what they do. And then there's a few Mozarts who can write the music, play the music, and create the music. And Ohtani's that genius level. I think we're going to see spectacular things out of him because the Yankee staff is an aggressive staff. And I don't think they're going to be pitching him, slow and low as you've seen in the playoffs. In this last series, he was on base 19 times. Every time he got up with men on base, except for 3 times, he delivered with a hit. But, with no one on base, they give him absolutely nothing to swing at, and he got no hits with no one on base. I think it will be different with the Yankees because the Yankees have an aggressive staff. And they see also that Mookie Betts now is coming back into Mookie Betts MVP fashion. And so they don't want Ohtani on base with Mookie hitting. I think you'll see spectacular things out of Ohtani in the World Series.
And Bobby, since you spent a lot of time in Japan, just maybe talk a little bit about, really what Ohtani means to that country, and especially with how big baseball is over in Japan. Just give us a little bit of insight as to what he means to that country.
Well, Nomo came over in 1995, Hideo Nomo, and pitched for Tommy Lasorda. He became a sensation. He was the Rookie of the Year. He's an all-star pitcher, and he opened the eyes of the Japanese baseball world that their players were good enough to play at the major league level here in the States. What has evolved since then through Ichiro and Matsui and others is Shohei Ohtani, who isn't the best player from Japan. He's the best player in the world. And just to put it in some perspective, twice as many people watched the game last night, which was really in the wee hours of the morning in Japan, than they did here in the States. So it's a breathing, living moment for that entire country, which is a baseball country of 130 million people who all understand a squeeze and a intentional walk and all the nuance of baseball. And they're really proud to have this player. And then when you see that the game 1, more than likely, it hasn't been announced, I don't think, but for the Dodgers, that Ohtani will be hitting first and pitching and starting pitching will be Yamamoto, another spectacular player on the pitching side from Japan. All the eyes of the land of the rising sun will be on Major League Baseball, and all the chests will be popping with pride.
Yeah, I actually saw 12.9 million viewers in Japan for Game 5 of the NLDS, Bobby, compared to 7.5 in the US. Just as you said, almost double that, and just incredible, really, when you think about two iconic franchises, the Mets and the Dodgers, and one star. He's just transcends the game that can produce those sorts of ratings. So I know this is probably, as I said on the intro there, probably the one that Major League Baseball were looking for, right, in terms of a World Series from a ratings perspective.
Indeed, it'll bring both coasts together, which is cool. But the last time the Dodgers were in this series, as we mentioned with Tommy, their star didn't play. Kirk Gibson was out, and the MVPs of that series were the lesser known guys, the Steve Yeagers, Pedro Guerreros of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think this MVP, this winner of this World Series will have, I think, a star MVP label going in, and he'll be an MVP label coming out, and it's going to be a great duel between absolutely upper echelon players. Aaron Judge, is number one in all offensive categories. Ohtani's number two in all of baseball. And remember, Aaron Judge did that with a healthy Juan Soto hitting in his lineup. So, that definitely helps, even though he was hitting in front of Judge, but he was on base. He was wearing the pitcher down before they got to Judge often. And Judge is spectacular. And Juan Soto, in his own right, the youngest of these superstars, is possibly the best pure hitter in the series, where he swings at strikes and takes balls. And that's what, we teach over with all of our youth teams, that's the way to be a great hitter. And he hits the balls with authority, as you saw in the final game, him getting the really game clinching home run.
And speaking of ratings, I mean, I would expect this World Series to probably pop in terms of the ratings, and the popularity of baseball has really grown over the last few years. Attendance is up, but just from looking at the younger fan, those younger generations, and really trying to cultivate that fan base of younger people. What do you think baseball can do to capture those fans?
Well, I'm a little on the outside of that thought, in that I think we need to be more entertaining. There's this idea that Joe DiMaggio was the first perfect baseball player, and he was stoic. He wouldn't smile when he hit a home run. I don't think that younger generations need robots playing the game of baseball. I think they need to see personalities. And I think with Juan Soto, I think you're going to see some personality come out in this series. You might even see a little of it come out with Ohtani, but probably not. I think we need to, but I think we need to be more exciting. To hit a baseball, many people say it's the toughest thing to do in the world of sport, and to hit it over the fence is even tougher than just hitting it. And to make it seem like it's an everyday ho-hum event when a player does it, I think is against the grain. It's not what we should be doing. And I think if we can inject more entertainment, if we can inject more enthusiasm, more personalities, I think it would resonate more with the younger generation. And I think we're real close to getting to the point where the teach of the game, especially the swing and the hit, which is so difficult, which happens in a megasecond, which, when the ball's coming in 90 miles an hour, you have less than a half a second to do everything you have to do. And everything you have to do is decide if you have to duck or if you can swing. You have to determine what kind of pitch it is. And then perceptually, you have to put the head of the bat where you perceive the ball is going to be, because the last 5 or 6 feet, you can't even see the ball coming because your lens doesn't work quick enough. So to have any confusion on the mechanic is a way to retard the growth of the players. And I think with AI, that my teach of hitting, which has been around now since the 80s, which was the way the laws of physics applied to swinging is now becoming mainstream, that everyone's understanding what you need to do, and it should be one thought, not 50 different ideas on how to swing the bat. Because if you disagree with the way my school of teaching taught hitting over the last 40 years, your argument's not with me, it's with Isaac Newton, because it applies the laws of physics, and the laws of physics are the things that make everything move on earth, including the baseball bat. So we know how to pitch properly now. Everyone does it the same way. And I think here in the next year or two, everyone will agree how to swing. And once that's a oneness in thought, it'll be a little easier for young people to have success, because swinging and hitting is a very difficult feat.
Absolutely. Completely agree with that. And, it's so difficult. And you can see that just by the hours and hours and hours of practice that, the likes of these professionals have put in over years and years. And that's what it takes, that dedication. And that's something that, we talked a little bit about a couple of weeks ago, Nathan and I'd written an article on the benefits of youth sports. And we talked about resilience and determination and teaching those lessons. I'm happy that this week we'll be releasing an article from the senior VP of the Lasorda Way, Steve Jones, where he talks a lot about leadership in youth sports and how youth sports provides that unique opportunity to develop leadership skills. And we'll be dropping that article in the bio once this episode 4 is released. But when, particularly when young people are given that autonomy to make decisions, coaches obviously can play a crucial role in fostering those skills by intentionally empowering athletes, helping them understand when to lead and nurturing those leadership traits. And it's great to have you on Bobby. And thanks again, for joining us. Great friend of Steel Sports and a member of the Steel Sports Foundation board. And, you're in a unique position to kind of talk a little bit about this, because you were in a position where you were led by a great, in Tommy Lasorda, one of the reasons and founders of Steel Sports, and why we're here today. And then obviously have been in a position where you've led, a team and multiple teams, and obviously winning championships as well. So can you talk a little bit about, from a position of as somebody that was being led by somebody like Tommy Lasorda, what traits did you look for in someone that was teaching you those leadership skills, and how did your youth sports that you were participating help develop your leadership skills that you would lead, other members of your team?
Yeah, as you guys well know, the idea of a leader, it becomes nebulous during competition because you're wondering what traits are you looking for out of the leader. And, the leader is just that guy and gal who understands the difference between right and wrong, and who can display their knowledge of what they know at the right time. And in youth sports and in professional sports, it's trial and error. It is not, leadership does not have a paint by numbers way of doing it during competition and also during practice. It's a lot about figuring out what works, and some things work with different people. And as Steel Sports, part of the doctrine that we live by is if someone's going to teach, that person that you're teaching doesn't care what you know until they know that you care. Well, coaches need to understand that the player wants the coach to care, and then they'll understand what the coach wants. But also, leaders within the team need to care about other players. And that's a very hard trait today, because in a lot of the teams that the youth players are playing on are these travel teams. And a lot of the travel teams have guys coming in from outside their team to play in different tournaments. So one weekend a guy will play with one team, and the next weekend they'll play with another team, and the third weekend he'll play with a third team. Might not even know the names of the players on the team, never mind understanding the nuance that it takes to make the teammate better during competition and that's what leaders do. So I think that it's a major challenge in youth sports, not only to understand the qualities and the values of leadership, but also to understand the environment that many of these players are playing in. And that environment has changed over the years. And I think the leadership style needs to change along with it.
What did you learn about leadership when you were over in Japan and working? You had been in the United States, obviously playing, managing, grew up in this culture, but what was it about that culture and learning over there in Japan? Just some of the leadership traits and leadership qualities, and how they valued leadership over in Japan.
Yeah, well, they respect elders in Japan for sure, and there's a hierarchy system. But what I got to learn, because most of my teaching was through an interpreter, and so my words were being translated, and in order for me to understand if the words were being understood through translation, I needed to inspect what I expected. So I had to see if, in fact, the receiver was listening and hearing what the message was. And I think that holds true here, even though many teams speak the same language, very often the player isn't listening, or if they're listening, they're not hearing. So the when became very important, not the what or the how of what I was trying to lead or teach, but when I was delivering the message, when the player was on the receiving end, was being receptive to what I was saying. And that's a skill. That's not something that you read about and you learn. That's about experience. And the one thing you can't teach in life is experience. So the trial and error in Japan became a wonderful experiment in my life to see if I could actually display and have those who were listening understand what I believed needed to be done. And once they understood that my values were more right than they were wrong, it became easier for them to understand that what my messaging was more right than it was wrong. But remember, I was the first ever American, first ever foreign person to manage a baseball team in Japan. And when I went in, all the doubting Thomases had their entire gospels ready to be written. I had to prove everything that I believed, and I had to disprove everything that I believed was incorrect about playing the game and about leadership qualities. And it was a wonderful experiment in life for me. And I think everyone, when they take on a leadership role, wherever it is, should wonder if, in fact, the messaging was being received, if it was being received through a translator, if, in fact, words that were being translated also came with nuance and understanding of the words. And then you become a true leader or a true teacher if, in fact, the words are understood.
I love it. That's great insight. Thanks, Bobby. Before we wrap up this episode, I want to turn it over to Martin. I know Martin has a stat of the episode for us.
Yeah, and I know we did. We actually forgot last time, Nathan. That was on me. So I know it's important to get our.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
Let's get it right.
Stat of the day off. But I also wanted to Bobby's point. Talking about words and leadership through a translator. I think it's also so important to look at how the other way you communicate, right, which is body language. It's the nonverbal piece, and that's just as important as a leader, the way that you communicate non-verbally. And obviously from Bobby's experience working through a translator, the verbal part can be very difficult, but that nonverbal part is almost universal. The way that you react to the way people are talking to you, the look on your face, your body language, also important being a leader. And if our youth athletes are out there on the teams, having that positive body language is so important when you're out on the field and being a leader on one of your teams. But the stat of the day today, I'm going for try to find something that was focusing on leadership, and the one that I really settled on was 94%, and that stat was that 94% of women in executive level positions in the United States report having played youth sports. So can definitely see the correlation between sports participation and the development of leadership skills. And as youth sports, as we've talked about, often fosters qualities like teamwork and communication, responsibility, decision-making, traits, which are obviously essential for leadership roles in adulthood. So that was today's stat of the day. And I want to have a big, huge thank you to Bobby Valentine for joining us today. Bobby, we appreciate it. Huge fans, and you've been a huge supporter of everything we do at Steel Sports. And looking forward. I know you're looking forward to being able to relax and watch a World Series, and I think it's an exciting one. So thank you for joining us. To our listeners, we will see you next time on the Steel Sports show. And thanks, Bobby. Thanks, Nathan. And we'll catch you next time on the Steel Sports show.
Thank you guys. You do a great job dealing with youth sports and bringing the Florida way to life. And if anybody wants to hear my pre and post game commentary, I'm on CBS HQ on the internet, and hopefully people will enjoy that. You guys do a great job. Continued success. Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you, Bobby.
Take care.